We're live.
Hey everyone, this is Luck, powering on. I say despite it not being me streaming.
I don't know, this is me. I don't have sign-ons or whatever. We know this about me. I don't need to lampshade it.
This is true.
We saw the How to Train Your Dragon movie. We saw How to Train Your Dragon live action.
Opinions have been formed.
Opinions have been formed. I took notes on it. We have like a disgusting amount of
And
notes.
I did not.
So this is something that I approached Luck about doing. I'm gonna turn myself down like a smidge. This is something I approached Luck about doing a while ago. And mostly just because I knew this movie was coming out. I'd kind of prepared myself to have an opinion. No, let me clarify. So like I'm like a longtime fan of How to Train Your Dragon. Like I've been a fan of this for like years. It's one of those Blu-rays that like I have absolutely worn out in my shelf. And because of that, I knew that when this live action movie came out, I would have an opinion about it. I just would, no matter what, right? I'm trying to find a good volume, good audio balance for me, by the way. So if I'm getting quieter or louder, this is why. I'm just trying to find the line here. And so yeah, whether it was really good, whether it was bad, whether it was meh, I knew I would have some kind of opinion about this, and I figured that would be maybe a good opportunity to try and do a rare, timely review slash discussion about a thing. So that's kind of where we landed. As I titled it with I'm gonna upload this to YouTube, of course. That's how it's how we get them. It's how we get them views. How we farm them views. Pretty sure the title on that one is going to be something along the lines of "How to Train Your Dragon 2025 was good." ... asterisk. That's kind of my vibe. That's kind of my feeling on it. I think it was like good ? Asterisk. I have a lot of thoughts. That's like a lot of things qualify that statement. In that, like, I think I had like a good time watching it, but it's a movie that like it like didn't go down easy, right? It like did not go down easy. By the time I left, I felt like a little I felt a little gross. I felt a little like was that did I was that something that I should have engaged with? Was that something that I feel good about having seen? I'm not sure.
Yeah, because my opinions when coming out of the theater was this was a very enjoyable film that I feel like I've already seen.
Because like yeah, right, we definitely have already seen it. we saw the original. Okay, so I have a whole like host of notes here. I'm gonna try and go down them one at a time. And also just like the caveat of like I think I came into this being of two minds. Of one, that I'm like I knew that as a previous fan I was predisposed to being kind of a hater about this, and so
which is why you recruited me, who was kind of neutral.
Yeah. And so like I knew like okay, I'm at risk of being a hater, which is something that I do not like to be. And of course with the whole Netflix Devil May Cry thing, that whole controversy, I've witnessed this from the other side, and I understand that I do not want to be old man yelling at Cloud because the thing that I liked when I was a kid was not quite what I thought it should have been, right? So but like I think I felt really mixed on this coming out of it. I really struggle to say that I loved it or that I hated it. I really struggle to say either of those things. Because like so like I'll just describe the experience of watching it, right? Just the experience of just watching this film, right? You go in, if you have seen the How to Train Your Dragon movie like I have, which is like 50 billion times. I've seen it so many times. I've seen it so many times that not only
it's etched into your eyelids.
It is etched into my eyelids. It lives rent free in my head. It was to me, and I think like I saw something about the director actually saying that it was not intended to be a shot for shot remake. Wow, if that wasn't his intention. I
Interesting.
I wow. I wonder what he thinks a shot for shot remake is, because that's what this was. It was
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel like his definition of it's not shot for shot remake. I added in this. I struggle to even refer to it as a B plot. It's like a C or even D plot of Snotlout's daddy issues.
There are little things that are added and like removed here and there. There are little like edits. It is not literally the exact same film, but that being said,
But it.
like most scenes that I was watching, I could in my brain like see like I was like in my brain playing the animated film at the same time, and it would sync very very often. They would directly rip most of the lines, most of the moments, most of the shots, like even like performance choices would be translated like directly. Like the moment where like I remember the one scene where Stoic like disowns Hiccup after the whole
Mhm. Oh, was
yeah.
the door thing the same?
Yeah, it was exactly the same. Up to the line, up to the fact that Hiccup like kind of up to the fact that Stoic kind of like stumbles when he gets out of the door. It's like exactly the same. Oh yeah, also spoilers, I guess. Fuck you, spoilers. I mean, I go
I feel like we'd be a
spoilers.
bit harder about spoilers if this was not for the fact that it basically is just a shot for
The
shot.
animated movie's been out for years. Go watch that, I suppose, if you really want to. It's got to be on some fucking streaming service. And that it is just that. If you've seen the animated movie, there's no way for you to be spoiled about this new one. It's exactly the same. There are a few things here and there that we'll like get into, but they're not significant enough to constitute as is anything in particular. Honestly, every once in a while I would kind of wait and see if like they'd do some alteration, and it was pretty few and far between that there were any differences outside of like a few line changes here and there. Cuz again, lives rent free in my head. I could tell when they changed a line. I could tell. So, so yeah. Let me go down my notes here a bit. Okay, so going into this though, I try in an effort to not participate in haterdom, I tried to keep a few things in mind, and I tried to like so I tried to actually like kind of create an itemized list in my brain of like the things that like my mental perfect How to Train Your Dragon live action adaptation would be, and I tried to like put those aside. I tried to literally like create the list and be like, okay,
Mhm.
we're not gonna get that. Let's try and not accidentally criticize this movie for the things it's not. You know. So, like, I think in my brain, the perfect adaptation would be like something that leaned into more historical accuracy, maybe something that was a bit more adult, something that kind of would not necessarily like it doesn't have to be Game of Thrones or anything. That'd be stupid, but
Mhm.
maybe
Just
something,
let
yeah.
Hiccup say fuck.
Just once for the PG-13, but nothing beyond that. Nothing beyond that. No, no, no,
Exactly.
no, no,
After his
no.
dad says, I disown you, son, he probably should have just said, fuck.
Fuck. No, 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 nothing that extreme. Just like in my brain, so what I really like and what I think a lot of people really liked about the original animated movie was that it took this kid's book, right? And it really kind of it really reinvented it kind of from the ground up, right? Like it took certain things here and there, took certain elements, but really it's a completely new story. Um a completely different tone for a completely different audience, and it manages to really be something special as a result of that, right?
Mhm.
It's like it's the peak of what like adaptation that is not really trying to adapt something can be. And it's a great argument as to why an adaptation doesn't necessarily need to be 100% accurate to be good. um and I think in my brain, because of that, I would have maybe ironically preferred something that was less accurate to the source material, that took more liberties and tried to have more of its own voice. Um and it wasn't that. It certainly wasn't that. It holds on to that original animated movie just really really hard. It clutches onto it for dear life.
Yes, because not to circle into what was added, but for me, as someone who's not exactly memorized every frame, I basically thought, oh, all they did was just add in these two bits, and that's it. Even I was able to tell that, and last I saw the movie was years ago. So essentially, the spirit of the movie is the same, most of the shots are the same, which leads us to the question of what's the point?
Yeah, the spirit's the same, the shots are the same, the dialogue is the same. The the only thing I will give it this credit though, which is that my one thing that I wanted of like maybe a bit more historical accuracy. It does actually do a bit more historical accuracy here and there, idiots can complain about how like why is it multiracial? They're Scandinavian, blah 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 blah. I don't give a shit about that. What I do give a shit about is the fact that Astrid's hair is actually a really good representation of like Scandinavian braiding tradition, and I care about
Hmm.
how Gothi is like is her design has been completely overhauled to be something much much more in line with what kind of like a mystic from that culture might have looked like. All the little set design stuff, like all that looks really nice. I think I'm actually gonna, and I think
Plus,
here,
they
yeah,
also gave, for all you people who poo-poo things out there in terms of diversity, they literally also gave an in-universe explanation. Like,
they
this is a
literally did.
coalition of people.
They literally did.
Plus, historically, the Vikings did actually travel around, so it's not entirely implausible they would encounter a lot of these cultures. Not sure if they really actually interacted with any of the Asian cultures, but I digress.
But who cares at this? Like, there's dragons in the movie. Who cares that much?
Realistic dragons, because everyone knows that big fat dragon with those tiny wings can fly. Realistic, am I right?
You know, realism. No, no. Again, I get as someone who actually does care about like Nordic accuracy and stuff. I think these people's brains are in the wrong place here right now. Um,
Yeah, they still have the stupid helmets.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
If,
more
if
mad at that.
if you're gonna complain about racial accuracy, be mad about the horned helmets. Those are not even vaguely historically accurate. Not even a
they're,
little.
they're as historically accurate as the bloody dragons.
They probably think that like they probably people who say that to me are there's probably a non-zero chance that their idea of what a Viking looks like it has more in common with like
Skyrim.
Skyrim or like I was gonna say like fascist like propaganda where it's like the
Oh,
undercuts and like the
fair.
black leather and the tattoos and
Mhm.
Mozzie. I gotta fix up this chat box that way I can actually see what everyone can see what Mozzie's saying. It's funny.
According to all known laws of aviation, there's no way that a dragon should be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground.
Yeah,
Quote
yeah.
by Mozzie.
It's not showing up on the background. But wait, actually, maybe Toothless's wing here can help out. It's kind of it's no okay. It's gonna stay here. It's gonna stay here, I think. And it's not
Or
letting
just
me.
go low text, add in just a full black box.
Uh, but my background's so pretty. I might just
It's either
actually.
that or change the text to black.
Well, I'm trying to open up the settings for the chat box, and I don't think it's wanting to let me do that during stream.
Ah, fair enough.
So I think I'll just hide it. I think I'll just hide it. My
Add second to
background's too
mind.
pretty.
So
I
I can't
worked
wait
hard
for
on
this
this.
bit to be cut.
I worked hard on this. I'm not cutting shit. You're getting this raw, uncut.
I do have to agree, though, it's a very pretty drawing.
Thank you.
I like the little body style. Sorry, digressing again. Dragons, they fly. They're
Wagon.
here.
They're here. Okay. Where was I with my notes? Oh yeah. So
Historical
I'm
accuracy.
okay, also I'm gonna actually spend a lot of time complimenting this movie because I feel like above all else, this is a movie that's very competently made, and I think
Look very good as well.
yeah I think that in the midst of I don't know, maybe I've watched too many fucking Marvel movies. Maybe I've seen too many of those like shitty Disney remakes or whatever, but it is nice to just like see a movie like this where it feels like it was made by people that like cared a little bit. Even just a little. So I think just because of that, there are certain I'm probably gonna I feel like my actual criticisms of this film are honestly pretty limited, and it's more just like my philosophical stances on this. I've in fact gone out of my way to give permission to all of my to all of my friends who are maybe less of How to Train Your Dragon freaks to say that, like, yeah, you could probably watch this one and like you'll have a good time. I
And hello,
approve.
that is me. The
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably even take my mom to see this or whatever. When she comes over to visit, just because like I mean I could take her to see the actual original thing, Elio, but she's one of those people that just doesn't really understand animation, so she probably just enjoy this more. So
as for me, it's probably going to be a similar story of just like, oh yeah, nephew and niece, let's go watch a funny children's movie. I don't care.
okay, actually I'll get into that because I noticed I was trying to actually gauge how the kids in my audience felt about this movie, and I do wonder. So okay, let's just continue on though. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I think from the time the trailer came out, I was on the record saying that like, oh, this is going to be a shot for shot remake. Like I saw
Mhm.
it. They were showing off all the shots and all the lines, and I was like, oh, that's what this is going to be. I immediately wasn't very excited for that because immediately my thought was like, what's the point? Certainly. And I think that's we're gonna be saying those words a lot. Like, just what's the point?
Somebody start a
Yeah.
counter.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think because of that, it definitely led to me starting the movie on with my hater hat, and or starting the movie with my hater hat on, and it did loosen as it went on, as the film digressed. The hat began to loosen from my head. I started to smile. I started
I
to have a
feel like
good time.
most, yeah, I feel like that just mostly comes from by nature of what it's copying from. It's always going to be good.
Yeah, yeah, this is one of those cases where if you're not familiar with the original, you are, and this is your first exposure to this story, you're probably going to like it a significant amount because even I found
Mhm.
myself really enjoying because like the original movie has a lot of really interesting themes and a lot of interesting things to say about like about like family and identity and all those things, and I did find myself just enjoying just having these be put into this new context of kind of re-enjoying some of those themes and kind of feeling some of them hit a little harder in certain areas here and there because they did change some things every now and again. Once in a while they threw me a bone so my brain could wake back up and say, oh my, something new happened.
Oh my
um
goodness, not Lighthouse Daddy issues.
yeah, yeah, like those. And
I'm
but yeah,
gonna be
it's
honest, besides that, I don't really remember what else is different.
I'll get into it. But so there, but I mean, I'll see other differences. I mean, again, well, here, just in my notes here, I was saying, it's a shot for shot remake. All the shots, bunch of shots recreated. Not just the famous ones, but even just ones that you wouldn't think of too much are recreated to the point where sometimes it looks a little odd. I found where like I think in animation it's a little easier in animation because of like the technical. There's a lot of technical stuff, right? So I think you can maybe
Mhm.
sometimes get away more with just having a shot hang in close to someone's face. And if you do like the performance, like the animation performance right, it can work. But I think sometimes if you do that in live action and you have an actor that can't quite handle the burden of a close-up shot like that, it just looks weird. It just looks
Any
off.
shots specifically you're thinking about when we're saying this?
There was like a few with Hiccup where really linger on him and the actor who was very young. As far I think the actor was literally 17 when they began filming for this,
Mhm.
or maybe even younger. So they would linger on him, and while the Hiccup character in the cartoon he's very emotive both in his face and also there's like jokes made about how he moves his hands a lot when he talks, and so he's someone where it's like he's a small little guy who's always kind of moving around and
Mhm.
making faces and stuff. And so
Just a
because of
quirky
that,
little guy.
when you focus in on him, you get a lot of like his personality and a lot of like action basically just by focusing in on him. But the actor could not, like, you can't quite do that with an actor without it looking silly. And
Mhm.
the actor wasn't necessarily offering anything else up to justify the shots like that. And so it just felt like, okay, we're just focusing in on him for like
A
no
little too
reason.
much.
For like no reason outside. That's what they did originally, and
Mhm.
it feels kind of weird. And the funny thing is though, because I don't think it's because he's a bad actor. I think I there were some moments where I
It's
really
copy the not choreography, but basically
that's
the
bad
movement.
directing to me. That's bad directing.
Mhm.
The actor had a lot of good moments, honestly. I think he's a good Hiccup.
Yeah,
We'll
I
talk
would
about the act.
actually. I
I'll talk
think
about the
all
actors
of
later.
the actors and actresses chosen were great in their roles.
They're all very good in their roles, but there were some issues with how they were directed sometimes, for sure.
Mhm.
Um so oh yeah, there was like also a few gags that were cut here and there. I literally this is how I didn't even have to rewatch this movie, by the way, to be like, oh, these are the scenes that were cut. This is minor gags here, major things here. So like there was like a scene where like Hiccup where they do like their first flying scene, right? And Hiccup does like his
Mhm.
like yahoo woohoo, like pumps his fist up into the air, right? In the cartoon, Toothless does like a puff out of fire in front of him, and then Hiccup does like a oh man as the fire goes into his face. And I assume they didn't want to do that because they're like,
Trying to be
we
realistic with
can't
the
set our
fire.
actor on fire.
Yeah.
And also like there's like a funny scene after he frees Hiccup, no, after Hiccup frees Toothless, and Toothless growls in his face where he like falls over fainting in the cartoon that they cut. Um, these aren't critiques, by the way. This is just me flexing my
Being a
knowledge.
freak. That too.
um, these are not critiques. I don't mind that any of these are cut. I understand why these were cut. Um, there were a few dialogue scenes that were extended. So Gobber gets more lines in general in this, in a way to further establish his relationship both with Stoic and with Hiccup in ways that I think I really
Mhm.
appreciate actually. There's also the whole scene where they're over the now these are actually compliments. The whole scene where Astrid is like on where they're like talking about the Book of Dragons, right? And he talks with Astrid, and this a thing is brought up where he expresses that maybe she should be chief instead of him. um that's brought up, and that's really good. It's such a good scene actually that I'm going to bring it up later. That whole little addition, it's like one of the few genuine additions that this has. And it makes me wish that it bothered to put more of these in there instead of just being so faithful constantly. There were a couple times where when it actually diverges, it actually really like gets like it hits the core of what this is, of what the story
Yeah.
is. um
Because I kind of felt like that was one of the additions of that little C plot, whatever, of basically Astrid saying, I came from nothing and Hiccup's just a spoiled brat. Wasn't sure if that was
well
in the original or not.
no, it wasn't, but we'll get there later. I have a couple things to set up with that.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
then there was like one minor scene cut where they established that dragons are flammable from the inside. And it's like negligible. I mean, you could say like, oh, you know, kind of ruins it because you know, with the final battle, that's how he defeats
Yeah,
the Red Death. But it's I don't super care. It's like intuitive, and it you
you
know,
can see it
yeah,
happen and still think, oh, that's a cool, smart thing.
yeah. It's it's not the most major, it's not the most major subtraction. I don't
Mhm.
does not reduce the integrity to remove that one scene, and we pretty much get it even with it removed, because the other part is just him. It's him like playing with these little terrible terrors, those like little guys. They're like the size of cats.
Oh, those little things.
Yeah, and so it's also supposed to like it doubles as like establishing that weakness, as well as him kind of fully realizing like everything we knew about you guys was wrong, was I think what he exactly says. And he's just like playing with these little guys. It's like literally purring in his lap like a cat, and it's cute. I miss the scene, but also it's like it's not the end of the world to remove it for sure.
Mhm.
um but yeah, put that aside though. This is I think okay, my next little section is my this movie is good and I'm gonna rant about that for a bit section. My this is oh no, well made maybe.
Okay, go off.
Yeah. So so I'm gonna start off with a neg. which is that this movie does not have much of what I would call a directorial vision, right? Like it's pretty much just copying the vibe of the original, point for point, and there's nothing
Mhm.
in it that I could say that is like stylistically or artistically unique necessarily. Is hardcore a movie that was made by order, right? Like the studio wanted this to be made, they hired a director to do so, and he did a job, took his paycheck, he left, right? But that being said, there was like pride put into the construction of this film at the same time. The sets and the costumes, I've already kind of complimented those two, right? The idea that like they, the OG film is really underestimated in just how much research went into the aesthetic. It's like way more historically accurate than you would probably first assume. Um, in a lot of ways, in a lot of little details, especially considering all the
Specifically architecture, I assume.
yeah, yes, the some architecture, some design work, certain textiles, certain things here and there. Like there's the glaring issues, of course, of like the horn helmets, but in the background there was a lot of little work that makes it clear that a lot of the on the ground artists worked really really hard to make it look, to kind of blend the more cartoony Cressida, what's that girl, the woman who made the books, Cressida Cowell, her kind of more cartoony aesthetic, along with something that was a bit closer to historical accuracy, and they kind of made something that's like a bit fantastical, not necessarily aiming for in like profound accuracy, but there are a lot of Scandinavian Norse culture has been injected into this. So much so that of course the band Jonsi, an Icelandic band,
Oh, okay. Yes.
we're very happy to lend some of their music to all three of these films.
Yeah, I was about to say thanks for clarifying because I had no idea what a banyosi was.
The band Jonsi.
Oh, it's two words.
Sorry, do you not know what the word band is? Do you need me to define that for you?
I thought it was combined together.
Jonsi is the name of the band, and they're an Icelandic band, and they were very
Mhm.
happy to lend their music to this project, and so it definitely has more in there that's culturally Norse than you would expect, for sure, for sure.
Mm.
Um, Even amongst the sillier elements. And this movie certainly takes some of that a bit further. I already complimented like Gothi's hair, no Gothi's costume, Astrid's hair. I really like how they made all the Viking ships colorful. That was something that is not in the cartoon.
Color
Um,
is always appreciated as well because they actually were quite colorful in the past,
they actually
contrary to
were.
Hollywood opinion.
They actually were quite colorful, and also the little fact that because the animated film, like, I was trying to think of if they directly state it. I don't I don't think so, but it is always incredibly heavily implied that the position of chief is an inherited position. And it's not. It's not. In reality, it was not an inherited position. It was something
Mm.
that was more decided by council.
Elected.
Yeah, yeah. Not a, they weren't democracy, but it was decided by by
Oligarch
council.
or republic technically.
Yeah, yeah. It was decided by council. Oftentimes, and each chiefdom had their own way of doing it, but typically, bloodline rule was not typically how they did it. So having it them bringing up that like these kids are kind of competing for the spot of chief, more or less, um
Mhm.
is bringing a bit more historical accuracy that was not there in the original. Where in the original it seems more or less,
Hereditary.
yeah, it seems like pretty set in stone, the idea that Hiccup is going to be chief outside of them having to forcibly remove him from the line of succession because he sucks too much. But I'm sure they would have considered if things hadn't gone
Would
the
have
way they
made for a
did.
funny
It
movie.
would have made for a depressing ass movie.
I'd watch it.
And also they I we also appreciate any film that wants to film on location. They filmed in Ireland over here, for example. Um They filmed in Ireland, not Iceland, but Ireland is not a bad place. As far as Iceland substitutes go, Ireland isn't a bad one, and I understand why you would rather that, considering with Iceland sometimes there's like a limited portion of the year in which you can film there. So
Duly noted.
and a lot of the vistas in Ireland are, well, you saw the vistas. There were pretty vistas. The vistas are visting. It is I don't know, it's a pretty film. It's a pretty film. The sets were all
It
made. I did not spot any. There was maybe one CGI location that I think I spotted, and that was the like,
Dragonland.
no, well, I mean, obviously I was more just thinking about the place that Toothless is stuck in.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I don't remember. I can't remember what that kind of land structure is called.
I
Um,
just called it a pit.
the pit, the pit. It's
Famous geographic structure.
a pit. Yeah. That was like the one, because it was so specific, right? I can't imagine trying to find a place like that to film in that would have been safe. So that was like one of the few places that they did that with. But other than that, though, okay, who the fuck is messaging me? Wait,
I
okay,
think that was just in the Discord.
fine. Yeah. So, I don't know. I've just gotten so used to movies are just CGI monstrosities, I guess, that I just appreciate it when a movie looks like it takes place in real places,
Hmm.
where the sets are like real and they're not like it's not like 2 feet of a set and then a soundstage either. It's like, oh, they
Or even
constructed
like
a
what
good portion of
a
this.
lot of Disney has been doing, where it's just do you know that one technology where it's like they literally just walk into a room and then like 360 everything is green screen?
Yeah, I hate
You
that
know that
shit.
thing?
Oh my
I
god.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
It this was a breath of fresh air for that.
There was like definitely a portion where I'm like, oh my god, this is like a real movie actually. And in the grand scheme of movies like this, I think this is trending towards actual real film, not something that was just made like in a computer by a bunch of overworked,
CG
yeah,
artist
CGI artists who
that are
aren't
not
who are
unionized,
not
might I
unionized.
add.
Yeah, it's like they went to locations, they made sets, they took their time. There was effort put into making this movie look good, and someone somewhere cared. Someone somewhere actually cared. And even on that note too, the CGI is very rarely off looking. There are maybe like a few things that I saw where I thought it looked a little weird. Like I think there was one where like Hiccup tries to grab Toothless's tail to like secure the prosthetic, and that one looked a little odd. But it actually looks fine when he's actually securing it. It looks like generally they probably used a lot of like puppetry and a lot of stuff like
Yeah.
that to like make it to make it look right. And let me say, as someone who did in fact see that like goddamn Lilo and Stitch live action thing,
They
uh
did not have any reference puppet, did they?
night and fucking day as far as like actually making the creature look real, look like it's in the place it is. It is much better, much better. There's maybe a few where it's like pretty obvious that they're like, there was like, oh, the portion at the beginning where Stoic is punching the monstrous nightmare,
Mhm.
and he's like clearly like shadow boxing, and they kind of like cut it a bit because it clearly looks awkward in real life.
Plus, they also try to hide it a little too by also, trying their best to edit around it.
Wait, what's that one dragon called actually? Am I a fake fan? Did I get that right?
Heck if
um
I know, dude. I'm a fake
um
fan.
yeah, I got that right. Monstrous Nightmare.
Oh, good.
The one that Snotlout rides is called Hookfang.
I vaguely remember that from the show.
I know all the names, teehee.
Oh yeah,
Um.
what's the one Hiccup rides?
Oh darn! Oh no! Ooh, you got me.
Oh, I want to make a bad joke now.
Anyway, and also just like, okay, here, the first bit of I think genuine gushing that I'm gonna do, unabashed gushing. Oh my god, the flying scenes are so good. Oh my god, the flying scenes are so good. Hey, Luck,
They
why are the flying
shockingly are.
scenes so good?
I I think it might be a combination of two things. One, the dragon model looks very good. Two, it doesn't look like a CGI mess.
Yeah, they did. He's. I noticed. I kept my eye on it. I kept my fucking eye on it to be like, if these humans ever look like rubbery CGI messes, like Spider-Man looks like in the in the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man. If they ever look like that,
Oh yeah.
I had my eyes peeled for that. They didn't. They didn't even once, to the point where I was like, oh shit. I think they just like filmed them for this whole thing. I think they just like got them
Yeah.
on like some green screen mechanical bowls probably, and just filmed them for the entire thing, cuz it all looks really real. It all looks like the choreography of it is amazing. The shots are gorgeous. Like when Astrid like touches the clouds, in my brain I was just like, oh my god, how'd they get her up so high? It's like
I know, right? Because like her hand was actually like going through. It started to move around her hand, like interaction with the environment. What is this technology wizardry?
in my brain I could imagine like five different ways they could have potentially gotten that shot, but like also I was just like, it just looks real. They just composited it in such a way where it becomes like what special effects are supposed to be in movies, where it's like trickery. It like tricks your brain into feeling like it's real, and all the
It
flying
adds
scenes
that
felt like they were real.
yeah, it adds that suspension of disbelief to your brain and then cranks it.
Very high effort, very well constructed. This is something that to me speaks to like a lot of people on this team, including the director. Like everyone must have cared a lot about just like giving the special effects team as much material as possible to try and make this look good, and like
Which is why, with this movie,
applaud them for
unlike
that.
other live action remakes, I would actually be in support of other people saying this just because the team clearly made it look great. So, like, you gotta at least support it.
it,
Just
it
a little.
it's made in such a way that to me says like, oh my god, it's almost as if the director doesn't have like open contempt for the special effects team. Looking at
It's
you,
not like
cats.
he's there whipping them saying, work more.
The one really bad like Wizard of Oz adaptation where the Wicked Witch is just like, work, and she like hits them with like a whip, and just like she's like screaming at them, just work.
Oh, I'm gonna have to see a clip of that now.
I'll just show it to you later.
Oh,
Um,
hell yes.
but but also I did mention too that, like, if we're talking about something that manages to be in the spirit of the original, I think just having good flying scenes is weirdly in the spirit of the original. I feel like peeps forget that one of the reasons the OG was like as big of a deal as it was like kind of how innovative a lot of the technology was, especially
It looked
surrounding the
beautiful.
flight scenes and the 3D of it. Like, I'm very confident that without the How to Train Your Dragon series, Avatar 2 wouldn't have looked as good as it did. Like
Hmm.
very, very confident actually. And like it pushed the boundaries of what scenes like this, of what like a 3D movie like this could look like. And because I was back in the, I mean, I didn't watch this movie in 3D because it hurts my eyes. Honestly, I can't. I wear glasses a lot of the
Same.
time anyway.
Plus,
It
I
just
got
doesn't.
glasses. You know the
we
pain then.
we both got glasses. We're not dealing with that shit.
We're fucking nerds. We're four-eyed.
Yeah. So but I would imagine that probably those sequences would have looked pretty good in 3D if we had done that. Um
Mm.
and so like the flying scenes that like pushed animation tech at the time, it was all very well done. I'm glad that they understood that was something that was important to nail. And again, just final point with this was just like, seems weird to say, but this feels like a real movie. As far as movies like this goes, feels like it was really well constructed, and then in a world of cynical remakes and soulless comic book slop, this feels like something that is trying to distinguish itself as being a little bit more. Not sure if it succeeds, but at least in this arena, it just feels like someone somewhere like tried, you know? It's like the difference in
In the realm,
between, yeah, the difference
go
between
on.
like the Cinderella live action remake and and like Beauty and the
uh,
Beast, where it's like someone somewhere cared.
yeah. I think in the realm of live action remakes, this ranks near the top, if not is the top. I would have to consider a lot of movies that I probably don't remember.
But also, I don't
But in
respect any of
terms
those
of,
on
oh, go
principle,
on.
so there is that.
Hmm. But in the realm of, is it a good remake? Eh, it at least carries the spirit, doesn't exactly change anything ish. But hey, for a live action remake, it's pretty much one of the best of them.
I'm just trying to at least point out that before one of you idiots try and say there was some lazily made, put slammed together cash grab, trying to point out the very obvious fact that clearly a lot of people actually worked very, very hard on this.
You
And
clearly have not seen other live action remakes.
yeah, yeah, a lot of people worked hard on this. Someone somewhere cared when making this movie, and that should be acknowledged because artists work very hard, and it's usually underappreciated labor generally. So, but speaking of that, let's actually let's crack open some criticisms as what of which I honestly like actually don't I feel like as far as criticizing the actual movie goes, like things that it did wrong in my opinion, I do not have that much to say, honestly, genuinely.
Mhm.
um so the acting is sometimes kind of off, right? Did you feel that while you're watching it? Did you feel sometimes that the acting just felt like not quite right ever?
I think I felt it mostly with some of the kids, but in terms of the adult actors, they were fine enough in my opinion.
They I think some of them were some of them did quite good, but
Mhm.
so okay, here's my thought process with this. So no one is terrible, but if I weren't already attached to these characters and didn't already know where their stories were going, I wonder if I would care, particularly with the kids, of course. And this is
Yeah,
a case in which I think the faithfulness of it is holding itself back. So sometimes it feels like sometimes I would watch the movie and I would feel like I was watching a bunch of live action like people try and fail to play cartoon characters sometimes, especially, and this was especially supported by the fact that the filmmaking was oftentimes putting them within the exact same shots, and then they would do a performance that was either different or just fell a little flat of the cartoon. And like, again, this isn't a like, they'll do the same cues as the cartoon, just won't quite hit the same. And this is not because of lack of ability, but this is because just their like live action and cartoon acting are just such completely different things. These are incompatible styles as far as acting goes. And
it's kind of like the
yeah,
cat face syndrome, or aka cartoon characters or animated characters in general tend to have larger, more expressive features that is easily changed, whereas a human is a human.
not
Do
really
you
what
get
I'm
what I
talking.
mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean because but I'm not. That's not quite what I'm talking about. It's more
Oh,
just in
okay,
the
so not about
way
expression.
it's more just in the way that a cartoon character will emote and will act versus the way that a live action person will. In live action, oftentimes there's more
Ooh.
subtlety to it, right? It's a lot about like expression. It's a lot about getting the right moment and the right mood. It is, it's more subdued because the camera is usually trusted to pick up every little subtlety as far as the acting goes. And with cartoon characters, it tends to be much more them, it's much more exaggeration, much more them acting with their entire bodies, much more exaggeration of facial features, and usually the voice actor is also like a voice acting performance versus a live action performance, or is those are two usually very different things because the voice actor has to communicate like a lot of the emotion and the feeling through just their voice, and so it can come across as a lot more exaggerated than a live action performance does. Or maybe more accurately, a lot of times when a live action actor tries to do voice acting, they come across as way too subdued and usually underacting. And so
Hmm.
those are ways in which oftentimes those two acting styles are kind of incompatible. And so when you try and see these guys like try and approach kind of cartoon character like type acting and performance, it starts to look weird as you realize that none of them are quite like kind of given the same direction, but because the more subtle style of required of live action acting, but with the same old shots, it just sometimes comes across as like odd, as a bit of underacting, as a bit of I don't know. I feel like I would literally have to watch it a second time for me to really analyze and like get at the heart of what I'm trying to say. But it just sometimes fell flat. Just sometimes felt weird, felt off, felt like it was kind of trying to do the same thing, but that the emotions just weren't quite there where they really needed to be for that scene to hit the same way.
Mm.
And this would have been a case in which, like, well, yeah, you can't just translate those kinds of acting directly. This is where maybe taking more liberties could have paid dividends. You know, like even just in the way that the shots were constructed, it would have maybe really helped
I was
support
about
the
to say the
performances.
framing itself probably could have stood to assist the new format.
Yeah, and so this is kind of where I start to wonder, where it's like I think that I suspect that the director probably put a lot of effort into getting the movie to look just right, but maybe this is not necessarily an actor's director, because I don't think there was much that was done on the directing side that was really meant to support the actors or their performances or to make them shine in really any meaningful way. And that's kind of a shame, because How to Train Your Dragon is so much about the characters that, like, you're really shooting yourself in the foot there. You're really shooting yourself in the foot. But again, the acting isn't bad. It just sometimes comes across as a little less. And honestly, this is about it as far as my like criticisms go.
So I actually looked up the director. Looks like it's Dean Dubois. And immediately it says here
type the name into the chat so I can see if you're I can see if you're embarrassing yourself there with the French.
Oh no, trust me, I absolutely am. Well, it's probably closer to Dubois.
Let me just see this guy's Dean Dubois. Yeah.
Yeah. I intentionally sabotaged myself with those last pronunciations just to try to elicit reaction.
That was funny.
But I go over to what he's known for. Apparently, he's been a writer for a lot of animated things. So basically, I think specifically writers for How to Train Your Dragon. So I'm thinking they brought him on to be director just because, yeah, he's the initial guy, which might explain some of the.
This is just a man who cares, you know, who cares about like visuals, but who maybe doesn't really understand how to work with actors too well.
Mm-hmm.
Not on a set, anyway.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wiki right now to see if there's any co-directors or anything. Doesn't quite look like it.
Well, anyway, let's just continue. But yeah, so that's kind of where my like concrete criticisms end, because I'm still of the opinion this isn't a bad film. But you know, I do wonder though still if the film should have been made. You know, we're gonna repeat that 50,000 times because I put it 50,000 times in my notes. Should this have been made?
The point?
What's the point of this? What's the point? I'm gonna really lean into that when we get to the end. So for now, I said characters are important. Let's like Windows virus protection. I said character talk. Let's do some character talk. Characters are important to this story. Let's talk about characters, because there's a lot to speak of.
Let's talk about the character with the biggest impact that I can think of. Stoic.
Oh my god, I don't have a segment on him. What do you have to say about Stoic?
Funnily enough, I was actually just kind of building that up for you to just say like, no, we're going Hiccup first. But basically, all I have to say about Stoic is more the archetype he serves and the narrative purpose of him rather than anything specific. I could tell you that he's supposed to be the one who Hiccup idolizes him and wants to be him, which triggers the whole point of everything that goes forward. Hiccup's emotions and turmoil, and then Hiccup's and Stoic's falling out. However, that'd just be a lot more summary work than what I'm sure Lily has.
Yeah, I don't think there's a point to discussing all that. All that's just shit from the
Yeah,
original.
no.
So I'm not interested in talking about that.
Like I said,
Um.
I built it up mostly as a joke.
Uh-huh. Okay, well anyway, I think we both like the casting of this movie a lot, right? I think we both felt
Yeah,
like the casting was really solid, that they picked a lot of people who were just right for the roles. In adaptations like this, they can oftentimes like cast them a little too pretty, in my opinion. I think of like Clarice from like the Percy Jackson show, where I'm like, no, she should be like a bigger girl. She should be like you know, they describe her as being like this kind of bigger, like heavy set, like almost like a rugby player build. But she's kind of just this like skinny, pretty girl, and it's like, well, that's kind of a shame.
she's a daughter of Harry. She's supposed to be able to fight someone.
Yeah, it was kind of a shame. And so I was happy to see that like that the cast of this film is like a full of like I say this very affectionately, full of like freaks and weirdos mostly. Like people like all different shapes and sizes of like all sorts of different interesting faces. When I saw like Tough Nut's
Honestly,
face, I like screamed internally because I'm just like, I'm so glad they just found like this actor with just this like long skinny ass man with this hook nose, and I'm like, that's it, that's Tough Nut, there it is. We
I'm
found him.
also yeah, I'm also especially glad that they got bigger people because it's like, oh yeah, you're built like a Viking. Yeah, that's good. That's
Fish
good.
Lakes is genuinely a big guy. He's genuinely he's genuinely wide,
Fish
and we
Legs, I
appreciate
think,
that.
was one of my favorite casting
He's so
choices because
sweet.
of how he looked.
He's so sweet. They're all, you know, like uh I mentioned like Gobber, who's played by Nick Frost. You know who Nick Frost is?
No,
He's a you've definitely seen some of his stuff because
I
he's
probably have. I just am
so
terrible with actor names and
it's like
whatever.
Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the
Oh,
Dead.
okay. Mhm.
Probably most famously is like Hagrid from like
Funny
Harry
enough,
Potter.
the other two you named, I know him from. I have not seen Game of Thrones.
I said Harry Potter.
Oh fuck! I've seen that
Oh
last.
my god.
I've seen that last.
He's in Game of Thrones. That took me for a fucking loop. No, but yeah, Shaun of the Dead, because you can see his face more in that one. So Shaun of the Dead
Mhm.
and Hot Fuzz are the ones where you've definitely seen him. Hagrid
Yeah.
from Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Shut up! I've not seen either.
God. Oh my god. So but, like and he just looks like Gobber. They all look very much like the characters, and they can all do performances that are they're pretty damn good too. When they're given space too, of course. And so there wasn't really anyone that I would view as being like out of place or miscast. It's all quite perfect. And and but there were maybe two cases where I looked at them and I'm like, you're a little too pretty for this. You're like a little too pretty for this. That's probably with Hiccup and Astrid. Um and I understand the whole thing, like they're the leading lad, leading lady, you know.
Mhm.
I understand this is how it works. But Astrid is like that. Okay, what's that actress's name? Let me find it. I wrote it down over here.
I don't know. Honestly, I see what you're
Yeah,
saying about any or with those two, but honestly, with Hiccup, I kind of feel a little more forgiving about it just because he still is a bit of a scrawny guy.
oh my girl's name. She was like also, this is a compliment, by the way. She's incredibly, unbelievably gorgeous. um oh my god. Oh my
Wait,
god,
what
she's
did you look
so
up?
Nico Parker is her name.
Okay.
She's so incredibly gorgeous. It's insane. And it is, though it is, there were definitely moments where it's like she's like opposite of she's like opposite of, you know, the pre-mentioned freaks and weirdos, and she just looks like
Mhm.
like she walked off like the set of like a Dove commercial or something. I'm just like, what is and I'm like, where are we going with this? What's going on? I'll be like, I'll be like, whoa, where are we? Where are we? What is this?
You know, I
Yeah.
suddenly have beef with her because I looked her up too. She's British. We can't condone it.
So is Nick Frost. No one's perfect.
Oh,
Nobody's
oh
perfect.
no.
No, nobody's
I forgot
perfect.
about that fact.
Nobody's perfect. Okay, okay. She's great. She's great. We do love her quite a bit.
Mhm.
And uh again, I will fight anyone who says that she's like miscast or Astrid should be white. She's like apparently I think like a court like I actually don't know how she is of mixed race. I do not know what those mixes are. I think she is at least a little
British.
bit she's at least a little bit black. Um and I I do not condone of anyone who is trying to get on her case for that shit for sure.
Hmm.
And I think generally as far as the kid performances go, she is one of the better ones for sure. Um, though there is a part of me that maybe would have longed for an Astrid that was like a little bit more snaggletooth, a little bit more a little bit more rough looking. But that's just me.
Alright, so your dream casting would have just been getting Nico, shoving her down a hill and then calling it a day.
What the fuck? You can't say that shit. I will silence you. Actually, I will
I mean it
silence you.
as
Actually.
when I say throw her down a hill,
Look,
basically
I'm
what I
gonna
mean is
look,
just
look,
dirty
look.
her
I'm
up.
gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna stop you right fucking there. I'm gonna stop you right fucking there. That was incredibly weird to say. Let's move on. Okay.
I feel like I need to defend myself, but I will
Don't,
respect your
don't, don't.
desire
Shut the
to. No,
fuck up.
let me
Shut
finish.
the fuck up.
I will
Stop digging
respect
this hole for
your
yourself.
wisdom.
Stop
Move
digging your
on.
hole. Stop digging this hole for yourself. Shut the fuck up.
That was literally me
Anyway,
admitting I will drop
new
it.
topic. Anyway, Mason Thames, who plays a Hiccup, is also, in my opinion, maybe a little bit too pretty sometimes, and that like Jay Benton gets it. I don't know why Luck's not getting it. why? Why? Like, okay, so he is kind of like in his like How to Train Your Dragon 2 form, in a sense of like the tousled hair, and like he's kind of like had his growth spurt and all this stuff. And it's like there was like a specific scene where it's like ripped straight from the OG where Gobber says that Hiccup is like skinnier and therefore weak and sickly looking to a dragon, which would make him safer. And he says that while standing right next to Snotlout. And like Mason Thames is just like taller and bigger than Snotlout in this. He's just like he's like 2 feet taller than him, and he does not look significantly skinnier than him. And so it was kind of it was just kind of funny where Gobber is saying that, and I'm just like looking at him and like, are you sure? He's like on the taller end, and just thing where it's like, well, he look because he
I feel
looks
like they
like the How
kind
to
of
Train Your
tried to
Dragon
hide.
2 part. They did
Yeah,
try
I
to
feel like
hide
they
it.
kind of tried to hide the fact that he was smaller than Hiccup of Mason Thames
Well, they
by
yeah.
giving him bigger looking clothes.
Yeah, they gave Snotlout the like big like they gave him like some padded shoulders. Mason Thames is
Yeah.
in like this like kind of baggy clothing to make him look skinnier, and his shaggy hair is like constantly in his face. Um, but there is still this aspect of like, oh, yeah, it feels very obligatory, like, oh, we had to have the leading lad and leading lady be gorgeous, so here we are. Okay, whatever. It's fine. They do a good job. I won't get that mad at it, and it's just just kind of sigh, sigh, I guess.
Plus,
Um,
everyone still acted pretty well, I would still say.
mhm. um,
Especially for their age. Actually, I don't know their ages. I shouldn't say that.
so yeah, the rest are the rest are pretty great. We like the range of races of body types. It's refreshing for stuff like this. I'm glad that they weren't cowards about that. Um and oh yeah, here's my Gobber section. Here's my Gobber section. He's like weirdly perfect for this as far as like visual casting as well as acting goes. He's
Mhm.
also just a very strong character here. He's acted very well. His dynamic with Hiccup is understated, but given some new moments that helps you feel it. His friendship with Stoic is sweet and genuine in a way that the animated can gloss over. And I also do like the little hints that he can relate to Hiccup, feeling like an outsider, considering that he is like canonically gay in the other movies. And he does have that little hint where he's like leaned against the door outside where Hiccup is, and he seems very empathetic when Hiccup describes how he just wants to fit in. He just feels like he's an outsider, and we have a sense that like Gobber really really understands him about that in a way that maybe he was more dismissive in the original version. Feels like them trying to like kind of fold that back into his character a bit. And that's very interesting. And I do hope that they will just fucking say it out loud if this is given a sequel, and will be, if they manage that, I will declare them less cowardly than the animated than the animated version, and they'll get brownie points from me specifically about that. So please do it, guys. I would appreciate it.
Another June release, please.
Yep. Anyway, so Astrid, I'm kind of mixed on, but maybe not for the reasons you are thinking. So she's developed a bit more as a character in this one. And then they gave her like a couple more little moments and little lines here and there that managed to, I think, strengthen her character a bit compared to the animated. They discuss her maybe being a better as Chief than Hiccup in this one scene that's kind of fucking heartbreaking and is my favorite addition, since it shows just how much self-loathing this little guy has at this point. And I want to get back to that when we talk about his character, but it does show a lot about her as a person, being someone that is somewhat resentful of Hiccup, who wants to kind of like not just make something of herself, but kind of like prove herself. It feels like there definitely feels like there's a lot going on with her character, both under the hood as well as being shown up front here, and we get to kind of see a different side of her. Get to see her as being like maybe as complex as she's ever been in this franchise, in a way that I appreciate.
I feel like if they had, like, hypothetically reframed the movie from her perspective, you would definitely see, like, the equivalent of a rags to riches story of her being the protagonist. I could easily see something like that.
Let me just adding a note. Okay, and but yeah, this like it kind of backfires though in its own way is the thing, because it kind of makes it weirder when she drops she has the same change that Astrid from the animated show does, where like after the whole romantic flight, she basically drops everything just to kind of become Hiccup's supportive girlfriend, who still has that like sass about her, still has that like has her own rough edges, but like it's such a quick like flip switch that like it feels weird when you start her from a more complex place, that you're still trying to end her there, like end her at the same place without really considering it. And this is another thing where it's like, this is just like, this is a little change that they attempted that I appreciate, but that maybe shows the weakness of trying to do a remake like this, where it's just so faithful, where it's like, yeah, if you took more liberties, you might have honestly ended in a better, more interesting place. Because it feels weird when she's just when she starts off as like Astrid 2.0 and then backslides basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's weird. It is what it is, and it weirdly feels more sexist because of it. so that was definitely that I didn't quite like that. It's kind of why I'm mixed on her, I guess. I think that there's a lot of good things they did about her character, and that maybe that those changes were ironically for the worse in some ways, and that they didn't quite commit fully, and therefore could have been better. Just they lack follow through. Oh yeah, we might as well mention Snotlout, Gabriel Howell, who was our ascended extra. His plot. So the plot about Snotlout, I was trying to figure out actually, because I never finished the shows. I never finished the shows, so I'm honestly not like I know that like his whole thing with Spitelout is a thing that's often brought up in like the fandom. But I'm not actually sure where they got that from, to be honest. I presume it came from the shows at some point, or that maybe it was something that they dragged from the books or whatever. But the idea that Spitelout and Snotlout have like a fraught relationship, and that his dad doesn't really seem to like him very much. Because his dad hates him. His dad despises him in this. His dad doesn't have lines in the original, but he really seems to like just hate his fucking kid in this.
To be fair, he barely had lines here too.
He had a few lines, but those lines included "Don't call me father while we're in public." So
only the best of lines.
yeah, and I will say though, the one way that it feels a little weird with this is that like this is an interesting change, giving Snotlout something, like a little, just a little plot, just a little, just give him a little something, you know.
Mhm.
I like the idea of that because I think he's a character that I think is quite charming, honestly, in his own way, and
Yeah.
um and
And I feel like giving him some of that attention gives him a nice little bow tie for the end as well.
it does, but it's also kind of weird when like his dad, who is like worse than Stoic, like, Stoic is not a great father in this, but like Spite Loud is way worse, and like it kind of just ends, like the subplot just kind of ends at the end, right? Like Snotlout
True,
does
I
like
don't
a
think we
cool
saw like
thing.
any.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
just does a cool thing, and his dad just says, "I'm proud of you" once, and we're just supposed to take that as like relationship fixed, mended, we're good, and it's a weird message.
perfectly
It's
fine.
a weird message, especially in a series that already has a weird relationship with the idea of forgiving your subpar parent. We'll
Mhm.
get into that more because I think that starts to edge into How to Train Your Dragon 2 spoilers, but I
True.
want to at least leave that open. But yeah, it was just kind of like I like the change in theory, but I think in practice it has like a weird execution.
I mean, yeah, it does kind of wrap up quickly, which is why I kind of hesitated to say B plot. I kept relegating it down to even lower than that.
It's a C plot at best. He's an
I was even
ascended
saying maybe even a
extra.
D plot.
He's an ascended extra. It's just to give the background. It's just to give something going on in the back. They could have cut it without any consequence because the original movie didn't have it. Um, so it's just kind of a thing where it's like I respect the idea of putting it in there, but yeah, okay. Well, anyway, finally, Hiccup. This one's actually kind of short.
The boy.
Our boy. So I think sometimes he can come across as a bit boring. I don't think the actor can quite manage the like comedic deliveries a lot of the time. Like he does not quite get the sarcasm. He does not quite. He's just not funny in the way that the original Hiccup was actually quite funny a lot of the time. He doesn't quite have the
I don't
timing of
remember
it.
if he was
Yeah.
just funny or if I just got amused by his suffering.
The original Hiccup is very funny. The original actor who plays Hiccup is a comedic actor first and foremost, and he's very funny a lot of the times. Like I went
Oh,
like I
okay.
went just like rewatch that first. Heck, I'll like I might even just pop on the movie in Discord when we're here, after the fact. But I want to just rewatch the first scene and just like Hiccup is so funny during that portion. It's really good. And this actor does not quite manage that, but what he does manage is that he does really manage to honestly get to the drama of the character that sometimes the animated version glossed over. And there are times occasionally where the directing does in fact support his more dramatic angle, and it comes like there were like two moments where I remember it just came together like perfectly. I was like, there we go. There is this version of Hiccup. This is why this actor deserves to hold this spot. So this is justifying these little changes. He got it. Just saying, and it's mostly around like the self-loathing bits. Just the fact that he's not having a good time.
This is a hiccup where I was easily able to buy the belief of like, oh yeah, he does not want to be here and he would willingly give up his dad's role of chief to Astrid.
There's like the one scene, right, where about like him and Astrid talking about like how she should probably be chief, where he literally says that Astrid was the child that his father wanted, and the delivery
That
of
was
it,
beautiful
the
angst.
delivery of it was perfect. His ability to just look pathetic is like it's just really gets like it's this is a compliment. This is such a compliment, I promise. His ability to look pathetic, it gets like is like it manages to just perfectly nail the feeling in that scene that you're supposed to be getting, and it's just so good. And also there's like one specific cut in the arena that if it happens in the animated movie I don't remember it, or which, like, doubtful. Me not remembering a single shot in the animated movie, doubtful.
Big fan.
I presume it either didn't happen, or if it happened, it maybe had a different connotation or a different feeling. But there is a scene where they are in the arena and his dad is like hyping up the crowd before the rite of fire passage or whatever.
Mhm.
And he says something along the lines of like, well, we all thought he was a, hiccup. And then when he says hiccup, it like cuts to the actor's face in a close-up, and like the one effective close-up this entire movie had, where he just looks gutted. He just looks like destroyed by that little throwaway line of his dad kind of making a joke, and you just you understand in that one cut
It's just like,
everything about
bro,
him
you're
and his
hurting your
character.
boy.
You understand everything about him and his character, and everything about why he's been doing the way why he's been doing what he's doing, why he is not attached to this new status of his, why he's just like his like resentment. You just feel it. It's just so good. It's so good. It's such a good effective moment.
Yeah, it definitely adds to the idea of his initial plan when he was going to have to kill the dragon was, well, I'm just gonna go run away. And like, I kind of believe why you would do that, kid. The poor boy.
But yeah, and I think again, I wish the movie had more courage and broke away from the old script more, because it's really good at being like dramatic and mature, and then it'll hold itself back. It'll remember that it has to be this shot for shot remake, and it'll just like, well, we can't do that. I guess we have to do this other thing, and it's just like no. When you do different things, it works. It works so well. And then,
honestly, it would have been a bold choice if they literally had doubled down with, you know what, Astrid's chieftain now.
I wouldn't have even minded that. I wouldn't.
It would have been something different that I would have actually kind of liked to see. Hiccup probably would have taken on a different role, but
trophy wife, duh.
That's yeah, exactly.
But yeah, also,
oh wait, one little extra point for that little side tangent. The most important part of that is, even if Astrid is chief, Stoic will absolutely be proud of whatever his boy's up to. Sorry, go on.
For sure. But so on that note, though, I remember before chat, you were talking about maybe bringing like your cousins or nephews or whatever to go see this, and I was trying to keep an eye out on like the crowd, on like the especially the kids in the crowd, and trying to figure out what they were feeling with this movie. And I did hear at least one kid crying behind me, which is usually never a good sign. I think young kids are not going to. I think this is like it's like a G-rated film. It's PG or whatever. It's like in between the sets and kind of the tone of everything. I do wonder where maybe if you're below a certain age, it's not going to be like enough like fun, colorful dragons, all this stuff for you. Like it might. I don't think a young kid would get much out of this. I think that the happiest kids I saw leaving that were like at least like 9 or 8. So I think that's about where it's like you have the platonic ideal of the 9-year-old boy who just loves dragons and loves the idea of watching like a Viking thing that feels a little bit more mature for him, and that where like a kid younger than that, this will just go over their head. They'll be bored. They won't quite understand it.
It is kind of funny you bring up the fact that you think 8 would be a prime age for it, because I didn't exactly take extensive note of the audience like you did, but when I was walking down the stairs, I noticed that some kid dropped their little toothless plushie, so I helped give it back to him. And like, yeah, about 8 years old. So it's just like, yeah, I think it definitely is going to that type of audience, and in my opinion, they probably are quite receptive.
Ironically, though, I think most of the people I saw in the audience, aside from like, it was like split halfway between like families with their kids or people like our age on a date night. That was the split.
Dude, I went like Thursday at 3 o'clock. Like the only people there was like 2 families and then like 3 people, myself included, who seemed to have gone on their own.
It seemed like a lot of people were just watching it because they remembered the original and they just wanted to watch this one.
Mhm.
And whether they had kids or not. And I think they had a good time. I think those are the people that honestly around, aside from the 8-year-old boy just really liked dragons, they were the other ones that had the best time for sure. Um and but yeah, I wouldn't, this is one where I wouldn't, it's not like, oh, it's not Lilo and Stitch. The young ones won't be entertained by this, I don't think. The same way that they wouldn't be with the original, maybe more so with the animated ones, since cartoon dragons maybe hit different than the live action dragons, but still.
True, because there's obviously some scenes, i.e., the early opening part, where the dragons are quite negatively depicted, and that could scare the youngs.
Whatever. Don't bring your fucking kids to the theater. I hate hearing them cry. I hate that shit. Die, actually. Kill your shitty child.
Damn, dude.
And okay, with that, the finale. Let's finish this off. I might last set of notes here. I have my last set of notes here. So, wait, why did they make this though? The phrase shows up for the 10th time. Why did they make this though? Because the real answer is to promote the new theme park, which also opened to the public, like not even a month ago, time of recording. That's the real answer, right? Like we know this.
Yeah, the capitalist answer.
Yeah. And I'm definitely gonna try and make it out to the theme park. I in my brain, I have a perfect How to Train Your Dragon video that I'll probably make like a year too late, where I'll go to the theme park, I'll shoot some B-roll there, and I will try and really sit down and talk about and analyze this movie and the original in the context of like live action remakes, and how sometimes even a pretty good one can just, the optics of it, the philosophy of it. I would love to just dig into that, but I first would like to use it as an excuse to go to the theme park, which I do like theme parks enough. I'm not immune. So so I don't know. Video to come out in
This is the
2026.
classic phrase, you're not immune to propaganda.
Video to come out in 2026 for sure. But anyway, this is the question with all remakes though, of course, just like, even an above average one like this cannot avoid that question. Why be made when the original is still accessible and very good, especially in a case like this where you don't have anything to change or add and no new spin is put on it, at least nothing very significant. But at the same time though, I must admit, I'm seeing the reviews for this come in, and I'm noticing that they seem to range from people being like, this was good, or even this was the peak of what a remake can be, to maybe this isn't really worth it, or maybe this kind of proves why remakes in general are not necessarily worth it. And I'm gonna put like my word on it is that if you're infected with the How to Train Your Dragon brainworms like I am, and I know that this is one of those fandoms where it's like
hungry for content.
They're hungry for content. They're starving for it. If you've ever touched the How to Train Your Dragon fandom, if you ever read a fan fiction, written one, whatever, or like own multiple toothless plushies, you're probably going to be like me. And despite the fact that you are determined to, be a hater or whatever, that I was determined to be a hater, I found myself like grinning, like ear to ear grinning by about the halfway point, and it pretty much didn't stop grinning until the movie was over, because I cannot deny that this movie is just kind of a good dumb time in a lot of ways. I mean, not dumb, like, it did have me rethinking a lot of the themes, and it did recontextualize them, reintroduce them in interesting ways sometimes, and it's just like, I think it's kind of like hollow artistically. Like as an artist, I'm not satisfied with it, but I also think you'll have a good time, and I think that's, for like a summer movie, that's an important thing to consider.
Yeah.
If you, like me, have a parent that does not understand animation and you want an excuse for them to absorb this story, they'll I have a very good feeling if I brought my mom to watch like Elio, a movie that I actually do artistically fuck with, and I know it's gonna flop, but like I hope in my heart that it does at least something, and that like actual original work continues to try and thrive. I hope that Sinners wasn't just like a fluke, and that people will actually fucking see Elio. but also I'm like cynical enough to know that that's probably not what's gonna happen. Yeah, I know if I brought my mom to see Elio, she would not give a shit. She would be completely bored. I bring her to see this, and she's probably gonna have a pretty good time, and I'll be able to actually like share this story with her in a way that she might be able to appreciate for the first time. But also just again, if you're like a big fan, if you have the brainworms, if you like the OG, cool. There's 2 of them now. Like that movie, you got 2 now. Congratulations. And I don't know. Just, I'm not glad that we have 2, but also sometimes I wish I didn't live in this timeline.
I do find it kind of funny how you were saying before we started this of I feel like I'm going to go harder and harder against this as we go on, and here we are being shockingly soft.
I mean, I'm trying to be soft on it because
is there anything that really ground your gears about this that you want to say but haven't yet?
no, that's the thing. Not really. It's like I just think it was pretty well made and pretty good, and there were flaws about it, and I could nitpick it, but I have no significant problems with it aside from like philosophically, like should you support this? And it's like I kind of don't think so. Like I would rather you go see Elio, but like Elio's gonna flop. We know this. Like I'm very confident in that. But again, it's this thing. And also like I want to also come
We
at this
want
with the
original
angle.
products to do good, but we know the landscape of things.
Yeah, yeah. And also too, I want to like completely disavow this idea that like How to Train Your Dragon was like this pure artistic thing, and then this is coming in here to fuck it up. I don't know if anyone's saying that, but just people always say that with remakes, so I might as well just nip that in the bud. How to Train Your Dragon was something that was like never pure as far as like a franchise. Like it was always a franchise that like pushed that sold toys. It always sold a lot of toys. That show's been going on. That show's like 10 season longs. The show we were talking about, like 10 season long, and it is that long because it sells toys, it sells plushes, they sell the little action figures or whatever. People love the Toothless plushes. I am going to go to Build-A-Bear and I'm going to buy a Toothless plush this weekend probably. People love it. Sells toys. It's like yeah, it has like it has some artistic merit, but like it's mostly here to move product. And I think this kind of continues in that tradition, at least, of like, yeah, it has artistic merit. It's mostly here to move product, but let's be real. It's mostly here to sell theme park tickets. And so as long as it does that, I don't even think they'd care if it doesn't do all that well financially. And it's probably going to do like at least all right financially. And yeah. And so yeah, I think I still have to sort through my feelings about this more though. And that is eventually what the video where I go to Florida will be about. But I think just like as of now, I just kind of gotta, let's end this. Let's end this at like a lean hour and a half. I think is my thought. Unless you have something else to get into,
no, because I'm gonna be entirely honest. My takes on this movie was entirely lukewarm. On one hand, this is definitely a good movie. I really found myself enjoying it, but it is a live action remake, and fundamentally, I kind of dislike them just because, remakes could really be going towards original ideas.
I wish I had a more extreme take on this because I feel like that would do numbers, right? I feel like that would be do numbers. I really don't know.
How to Train Your Dragon is a terrible movie, and here's why.
It's the best adaptation you've ever seen. No, it's neither of those things.
Willy Rage Bait gets more views. We know this.
It does, but I have too much respect for myself to do that, and so I think I just have to leave you with this. I think we have to end the stream with this kind of
lukewarm, middle of the road take.
Yeah, lukewarm, middle of the road take. I'm probably gonna watch it a second time. Probably gonna watch it a lot, honestly. I'm probably gonna watch like
just because of the brain rot.
Yeah, I have brain rot for this. Like, what kind of like? I'm just like in like this is one of those movies I've just been like autistically obsessed with for years of my life. I've watched that first one like over and over and over again. It was just I was the autist that just like sat down and watched the same movie back to back. It was this one, amongst others.
I can't wait for just randomly at like 10 o'clock on a random day, PM by the way. I'm just gonna get a message from you, Lily, just saying like, you know what, I've rewatched it a few times. I think my opinion has changed.
I'm gonna show you what literally what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make dinner. I'm gonna come back here. And we're gonna sit in Discord. I'm gonna show you the first one again, and I'm gonna be quoting the lines as they're playing on the screen. It's just gonna happen. And then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sit on my when we're done. I'm gonna sit on my couch and I'm gonna watch more of the series that I need to actually sit down and watch all the way through one of these days. I'm in. I'm locked in. If they make a sequel, I'm gonna be at the theater opening day again.
I am absolutely down just because this has been a very fun experience for me.
I have no control over this at this point. Anyway, though, I think we're gonna end it here. Hour and a half seems good. I hate it when these reviews go on for longer than the actual movie, so proud to end it before we get to the 2 hour mark. So let's do our little sign offs. Let's end off here today, okay?
Alrighty. Well, lurkers, chatters, here for a little, here for a while. I thank you all the same. This is Luck, bowing off. And remember, everyone, lucky days.
And I wish you all a 3, 2, 1.
Good night.